Welcome in everyone to Behind the Arc Basketball. It is March Madness time, everybody, and today we're gonna do our 2021 NCAA March Madness predictions here from Behind the Arc Basketball. As before I get into my March Madness predictions, though, you're welcome to join my Behind the Arc Basketball Bracket Challenge group. If anybody is interested, it's open up to the public, and I'll post a link down in the description below for anybody who is interested in joining the Behind the Arc Basketball Bracket Challenge group, as we're going to do the ESPN Tournament Challenge for this year. Also, if anybody's interested, check me out if you haven't already done so already, as I cover play-by-play of college basketball games. Make sure to check out those live streams as I cover play-by-play hoops games. We'll be doing it throughout the tournament, so make sure to check out my live streams if you guys are a first-timer here out on the stream. Alright, without any further ado, we're going to get right into the bracket here, my bracket predictions for the 2021 NCAA Tournament. Happy bracketing, and it's hopefully going to be an awesome tournament. That is one thing for sure. Alright, we'll start in the top left corner here, out in the West region first. The overall number 1 seed, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, looking to go undefeated for the first time since the 1975-76 Indiana Hoosiers did to win the NCAA tournament. And Gonzaga first round will take on the winner of the 16 seed. In the first 4, it's going to be Norfolk State versus Appalachian State. I'm going to take Norfolk State over Appalachian State to get there to take on Gonzaga. And in this game, of course, I'm going to go out for Gonzaga, the overall number 1. Now moving down here to the 8 versus 9. The 8 seed, the Oklahoma Sooners, taking on the Missouri Tigers. Missouri's got the experience on this roster with upperclassmen. However, they do struggle to defend the perimeter, not really having explosive offense either. Oklahoma, they went downwards towards the end of the season. They are guard reliant on their roster, though, and they got 3 players here for their guards that all attempt at least 4 3-point shots per game. Austin Reeves, Davion Harmon, Umoja Gibson. Also add along forward Brady Manick into the mix. I just like Oklahoma, how their schedule has really prepared them for this game, playing in a difficult Big 12 conference. I'm going to take the Sooners in that one. Oklahoma's trailed down lately, though Missouri has also struggled trying to find consistency this season as well. Now with this matchup, this is a good one. The 5 versus the 12, the Creighton Blue Jays. The 5 seed taking on the 12 seed, UC Santa Barbara, out of the Big West. It was 2 years ago, a team out from the Big West, UC Irvine, upset Kansas State with a 13 versus 4 matchup. UC Santa Barbara, they are red hot. They have won the last 18 out of 19 games. UCSB, they've got size. They also got a favorable matchup going up against Creighton, who struggles in the front court. 6'10" big Miles Norris for UC Santa Barbara, and 6'9" leading rebounder Amadou So. UC Santa Barbara as well, they got 2 top 100 recruits on their roster with Miles Norris and also their leading scorer Ja'Cory McLaughlin. And as for Creighton, it all depends on how they basically do from the perimeter. They're so tough to figure out. Some days they're red hot, some days they're not for Creighton. They got a terrific player for a guard from Marcus Zagorowski, but can he lead his team to victory? That is the big question, because the front court struggles for Creighton. Creighton's front court allowed Qudus Wahab of Georgetown in the Big East Championship game to a double-double. They got crushed against Georgetown in the Big East title game. I'm going to take the first upset of the tournament here. I'm rolling with UCSB, the 12 seed, over the 5 in the first round. Now we're going to move on to the 4 versus 13. A really interesting matchup. This should be a great game. The 4 seed, the defending national champions, the Virginia Cavaliers, taking on the 13 seed, the Ohio Bobcats. Red hot offense. Top 20 nationally with their offense coming out of the MAC champions. And Jason Preston leads this team here for Ohio. The thing about Virginia this season is that they have a great interior defense. The weakness, though, of Virginia is their perimeter defense, and that's how San Francisco beat Virginia back in November, is jacking up threes. If Ohio wants to pull off the upset, they have to do that as well, and I think they have a chance. They are a red-hot, electric offense for the Bobcats. Virginia has most of his roster as well currently in quarantine and won't travel to Indianapolis until Friday, so I'm going to go out for another upset here. I usually take at least one. 13 versus 4. Here we go. I'm going to take it. I'm going to fire in Ohio as the 13 seed to put an unpredictable 12 versus 13 matchup in the second round. Now we move on to the next game. The 6th seed USC will take on the winner of the 11th seed Wichita State versus Drake. 4 out of 11 playing Wichita State versus Drake. I'm going to take Wichita State in that one. Drake's only played one power conference team this season, which they beat. It was in their opening game of the season versus Kansas State. So that means that Wichita State, for my prediction, will take on USC. I like USC in that matchup over Wichita State. Big reason why the front court, the Mobley brothers. Evan Mobley looks like a potential top 5 NBA draft pick. And for this matchup here, looks like a nightmare for Wichita State inside. As Wichita State, they do allow a conference worst in the American, 39.5 rebounds per game to opponents. That's where I like Southern California out in this one as the 6th seed to prevail. Now on to the next matchup, the 3 seed, the Kansas Jayhawks taking on the 14 seed, Eastern Washington, out from the Big Sky Conference. Now, I feel like this matchup here, Eastern Washington, they could potentially give Kansas a fight like UTEP did at the end of the season. But when all comes push to shove here, I just think Kansas just going to be too good with their starting lineup in this matchup for Eastern Washington to match it. That's where I really like the Jayhawks in this one to prevail. That sets up a 3 versus 6 in the second round between Kansas and USC. Now we move on to the next matchup, the 7 seed. Good matchup here. The Oregon Ducks taking on the 10 seed, the VCU Rams. Oregon, they got an offense that they have, primarily guard related, with their key players there, Will Richardson, Chris Duarte, and also LJ Figueroa. They also got Amarui as well in the front court. They got really good electric offense there for Oregon. They do struggle to defend at times, though, for the Ducks going up against VCU, where VCU's got a stud when Nashad Bowens Highland is. He is capable of dropping 25 plus any day, and he has potential to do so in this matchup going up against Oregon. Though I do like the more complete roster out in this one. I feel like that's Oregon in this type of game here in this matchup. So I'm going to roll with the Ducks in this one for the 7 seed over the 10 VCU. Now onto this matchup here, the 2 seed Iowa Hawkeyes taking on the 15 seed Grand Canyon University. They get their first ever NCAA Tournament bid out from the WAC. The National Player of the Year top candidate Luka Garza will be taking on the big man for Grand Canyon U. That is Ashbourne Midgard. He leads college basketball in shooting percentage, shooting the ball over 70% from the floor. Grand Canyon University, they got some size in their roster with Midgard, 7-foot center, 6'10" Alessandro Lever. But still, I like Luka Garza, the Iowa Hawkeyes, to prevail out in this matchup, as I got Iowa facing Oregon in the second round. Now we'll take a look here at the right corner of the bracket, the top right corner, as we move on to the South region. That's where we have the second number 1 seed, the Baylor Bears, as they will take on the Hartford Hawks, the America East Tournament champions. Baylor has the deepest backcourt, in my opinion, of all college basketball. First nationally in three-point shooting percentage, 42% as a team from 3. And the top 5 scorers for Baylor are all shooting the ball at over 38% from 3-point range. Hartford, in their first ever NCAA tournament appearance, though, I feel like Baylor just way too much firepower in this matchup. I've got the Bears to prevail. Now we move on to the next matchup. Really good one. The number 8 seed, the North Carolina Tar Heels, taking on the 9 seed, the Wisconsin Badgers. As North Carolina has the advantage in this matchup here, the front court. I really like how UNC's front court matches up against Wisconsin, which has struggled this season defending opposing bigs. Whereas Wisconsin, though, they got the experience on their roster, as they have a lot of seniors on that roster for Wisconsin, and they do have an advantage in the backcourt when it comes to taking care of the basketball. North Carolina struggled with turnovers for the season, but when it all prevails here in this one, I do like UNC's front court in the interior and on the glass. That's where we're going to take North Carolina to face Baylor in the second round. Now on to the next matchup. The 5 seed, the Villanova Wildcats, take on the 12 seed Winthrop in this first round. 23-1 Winthrop. I was a little bit tempted to possibly take them, but I withdrew myself back, and I'm going to roll with Villanova in this matchup here. Big reason why is because of this. Winthrop has only 2 other teams in their conference out in the Big South that has records at over 500 on the season. Winthrop hasn't really played any quality team so far this year. 23-1 record. Villanova struggled with injuries. They've lost the last 2 games, losing Colin Gillespie, their point guard, to a torn MCL. Huge blow for Villanova. But he got faith here out in Jay Wright coaching this team, that he's got some time here, can bring his team together. Third time will be the charm with back-to-back losses against Providence and Georgetown. I think this time around, though, they're going to be able to find themselves a W against a completely unknown team here with Winthrop out of the Big South. They do have their point guard for Winthrop, 6'7", Chandler Vaudrin. He leads the NCAA right now with 3 triple-doubles. Should be a great game, but I'm going to go with Villanova in this one. Now we move on to the next matchup, the 4 seed Purdue taking on the 13 seed North Texas. The winners of Conference USA for North Texas beat Western Kentucky to get into the NCAA Tournament in overtime. This is going to be a defensive type of battle here. Both these teams defensive minded. Purdue's in their home state. I'm going to favor here home state advantage. Also like Purdue's schedule as well for this type of matchup here. I do like Travion Williams, Zach Edey down low for Purdue inside the post. So I'm going to take the Boilermakers to roll over North Texas out in this matchup. This should be a low-scoring game, like in the 50s or into the 60s for these two teams. Now we'll move on to the next matchup, the 6th seed, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, taking on the number 11 seed, Utah State Aggies. Utah State got in as an at-large bid, made it to the Mountain West Tournament Final. Lost against San Diego State, but they made it in. Utah State's been inconsistent, got blown out season opener against VCU. But for Texas Tech here, I'm gonna go Texas Tech in this matchup. Texas Tech is mentally tough. They are just they are the bully on the block for Texas Tech, and when you take them on, you got to be physical straight up to compete against Texas Tech here. The Red Raiders aren't a great shooting team, but they go out there and they really challenge for the 50-50 ball each and every single possession for Texas Tech. Utah State has a really good big Namisa Keita for Utah State that they have. And this should be another defensive type of game here, but I do like Texas Tech as the Big 12. I feel like with these games out of the Big 12 has prepared Texas Tech to take that game in round 1. Now on to the next game. The 3 seed Arkansas taking on Colgate. This game is going to be a track match with a lot of points flying off the board, I predict, for this one. Colgate's got the number 2 offense in all college basketball. Arkansas has a top 10 offense as well. 13-1 Colgate out of the Patriot League versus Arkansas on a 9-game winning streak before the loss against LSU in the SEC tournament. Though Colgate has played only 5 teams total this season. They started their season late at early January since they were out in the Patriot League. Patriot League teams besides Army and Navy did not play non-conference games this season. I am not buying that with Colgate, the 14 seed. Even though they took Tennessee down to the wire 2 years ago, I am not buying this Colgate team going up against Arkansas. I'm going to take the Razorbacks out in this one as the 3 seed to prevail. Now we'll take a look as the next game. This is the game that officially tips off the official round of 64 starting on Friday afternoon. The number 7 seed, the Florida Gators, taking on the number 10 seed, the Virginia Tech Hokies. In my opinion here, Virginia Tech, I feel like they're underseeded in this bracket because of their team going on the pause. Florida, I feel like they're overseeded in the bracket, whereas Virginia Tech's underseeded, and Florida struggled with being inconsistent for this season. Virginia Tech's defense, that could potentially be the factor here. I'm going to take Virginia Tech's defense in this game. Florida, they've kind of trailed off lately. They've lost the last 3 out of 4 games. This is going to be a really good matchup. It should be close, and we're going to have a great start to the tournament here. But I'm going to go Hokies out in this one. They really showed me heart coming off after that pause against North Carolina. They played it tight all the way through the very end there, where UNC just started breaking out towards the end of the second half. Now on to the final game of the region here for the South region. That is the 2 seed, Ohio State Buckeyes, as they will take on the 15 seed, the Oral Roberts, for Oral Roberts right here for this matchup. And so yeah, both of these teams, they can score some points. Ohio State, Oral Roberts, though, in the Summit League final, they blew a 25-point lead in the title game. So the thing here is that Oral Roberts, they do struggle defensively. They cannot defend the 3 as well. Ohio State's just going to thrive off of that. Watch out for Dwayne Washington Jr. to ball out in this game here. I'm taking the Buckeyes. All right, so the top half of the bracket complete there for the first round. Now we're going to move on to the bottom region. We will start at the bottom right corner here with the Midwest region, and we will take a look at the number 1 seed, the Illinois Fighting Illini, as they take on the Drexel Dragons for the 1 versus 16 matchup there out in the Midwest region. This game, in my opinion, it's going to be the biggest blowout of the entire tournament. Drexel won the Colonial as a 6th seed with a losing conference record of 4-5. And Illinois, they are just lights out on fire for the Fighting Illini. Drexel, they have a lot of trouble here in this mismatch going up against Illinois. Drexel has trouble rebounding. They also cannot defend 2-point shots. Watch out for Illinois with Kofi Cockburn in the interior. He's going to be eating this game for this one, and Illinois is just going to blow out Drexel, in my opinion. Now to the second matchup. This is a really good game here. Loyola Chicago, the 9 seed. Or the 8 seed for Loyola Chicago, taking on Georgia Tech, the 9 seed in this matchup here. It is the best defense in all college basketball with the Ramblers, the 8 seed, taking on Georgia Tech, the ACC tournament champions. Loyola Chicago has won the last 17 out of 18 games. Georgia Tech, they won the last 8 straight games. Georgia Tech's got a scrappy defense. Jose Alvarado, he is a steel beast this season versus Loyola Chicago's interior scoring efficiency and defense with Cameron Kretwood leading the way. But in this matchup here, I'm going to take the defense for this one. I will take Loyola Chicago to take on Illinois in the second round there in that next matchup. So there'll be 2 home state teams going up against each other in the second round. Now we'll take a look at the next matchup, the 5 seed Tennessee. We'll take on the 12 seed Oregon State. Oregon State got here by winning the Pac-12 tournament title. They were, I think, picked to finish last by a bunch of Pac-12 analysts to finish last in the Pac-12 conference. Unbelievable how they got here for Oregon State. For Tennessee, though, I'm going to take Tennessee. They have a terrific interior defense for Tennessee, though they do have a lot of struggling trying to hit shots for Tennessee, though. Oregon State, they do have trouble making shots as well, especially from the inside, as I feel like Oregon State, not buying them. I feel like they were just a one-week wonder out in their conference tournament. I'm going to take Tennessee to roll out in that matchup. Now on for this matchup, the 4 versus the 13, Oklahoma State takes on Liberty. This is a tough matchup, really is. Oklahoma State, they are young, but they got a stud with Cade Cunningham, and they are playing with so much chemistry for Oklahoma State. This is just an unfortunate matchup here because I think that Liberty can do damage pending the matchup. But in this type of matchup here, I really like what the Big 12 has prepped up for Oklahoma State for this season. This team plays with heart for Oklahoma State. They attack and drive to the basket. They attempt the most 2-point shots per game out of any team out in the Big 12 Conference. Liberty is a great 3-point shooting team, and they are great defensively. But Oklahoma State has proved that they can shut down the 3. They are the top 3-point shooting defense in the Big 12 Conference. They shut down Baylor back in the Big 12 tournament. And I'm going to roll here with Cade Cunningham and the Cowboys to move on to the second round to take on Tennessee. Now on to the next matchup, the 6 versus 11. Another great defense. San Diego State. The Aztecs will take on the 11 seed, the Syracuse Orange. In this matchup here, Syracuse lost in the buzzer beater in the ACC tournament against Virginia. They get an at-large bid into the tournament, though. San Diego State red hot, 14-game winning streak for them. Winners in the Mountain West, and they are the number 8 defense in all college hoops. Syracuse, though, mid-pack nationally in shooting efficiency. San Diego State, I like their experience. They're out to prove themselves after last year's historic season for San Diego State where the tournament got canceled. They got 4 seniors, 1 junior in the starting 5. I'm going to take the Aztecs in this matchup here over Syracuse. Should be a really good game, though, between these 2 teams. Now on to the next matchup. Number 3, West Virginia taking on the 14 seed, Morehead State. Morehead State winners of the Ohio Valley Conference. They have won the last 19 out of 20 games for Morehead State. And the thing about Morehead State, though, is that the turnovers. They turn over the basketball a ton, around an average of 15 times per game. West Virginia, press Virginia, great at forcing turnovers. West Virginia, really guard reliant. They are a deep team with multiple go-to scorers on the lineup there for West Virginia. I'm going to roll here with the Mountaineers, past Morehead State in the first round. Now on to the next matchup, 7 versus 10. Somebody has to win this matchup here. The 7 seed, the Clemson Tigers taking on the 10 seed, Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And Clemson, they were bounced out. First game they played in the ACC tournament against Miami. Clemson is basically only a defensive-minded type of team. Really, really struggle. They are on the grind offensively. Rutgers, they have faced some stiff competition out in the Big Ten for this season for Rutgers. They really struggle at the free throw line for Rutgers here. Clemson has a lot of trouble getting their offense going. This game is a toss-up, but I'm going to take Rutgers. I think their schedule has prepared them more for this type of matchup here. So I'm going to say Rutgers. They're going to win a tournament game as the 10 seed, moving on to the second round. And who will Rutgers face? It will either be the 2 seed Houston or the 15 seed Cleveland State. And that's where I'm going to roll with Houston. Houston is elite defensively. They got wings that can go out on the perimeter and defend. They defend at a high level for the Cougars. Both of these teams are guard reliant. Houston, though, just so good defensively. Also great on the glass, and that's why I'm going to roll here with the Houston Cougars into the second round. So now we have only the bottom left corner here left to go in the first round as it continues out in the East. We'll have the number 4 overall, or number 4 1 seed out there in the East. It is the Michigan Wolverines as they'll take on the winner, the 16 seed Mount St. Mary's, Texas Southern. As I'm going to take there in that playing game, I'll take Mount St. Mary's in that playing game. I like what they showed against Bryant in the NEC tournament final. Mount St. Mary's, they were physical. They slow down the ball. They're one of the slowest tempo offenses in all college basketball. They got a great defense for Mount St. Mary's. But in this matchup here, Michigan going to be, I don't know if they're going to be without Isaiah Livers, though. However, he is out indefinitely with a stress fracture due to a right foot. So that's a big, big loss right there for Michigan. But either way, I do like the Wolverines out in this matchup. I do not see a 1 versus 16 upset happening for this year. Michigan led by their freshman big 7'1" center, Hunter Dickinson, inside the post. And that's where I like Michigan to take it to out in this game here. Dickinson leading the way. I've got the Wolverines out in that matchup. Now for the 8 versus 9. Interesting game here. LSU, red hot flying offense taking on elite defense of St. Bonaventure. St. Bonaventure, the 9 seed. A lot of people sleeping on St. Bonaventure. And St. Bonaventure, they got 5 juniors in that starting 5 for the Bonnies. They also got a terrific point guard in Kenny Lofton as well. The Bonnies have the number 5 ranked defense versus LSU's top 10 ranked offense. And this is the thing. LSU, as part of the A-10 curse, they lost against St. Louis back in November. The Bonnies beat SLU by 18 points in the A-10 semifinals. I feel like LSU here, their offense is electric, but under the radar has been flying St. Bonaventure. I really liked what they showed in the A-10 tournament final against VCU. I'm going to take an upset here with the Bonnies. Not a whole lot of people have that game there for the Bonnies to move on to the second round. But I really like how their team is balanced as far as St. Bonaventure, and their defense will provide stops there against LSU. I'm gonna take St. Bonaventure in that game for a big upset for an 8 versus 9 seed. Now on to the next one we got here, the 5 seed Colorado taking on the 12 seed Georgetown. Georgetown, they start out the season 3-8. They lost to Navy early on in the season. They got here because they won the Big East tournament final and crushed Creighton to get here. So Patrick Ewing just out of nowhere coaches his team in complete turnaround this season. After they came off a pause, this team was completely changed for Georgetown. For Colorado, I feel like them seated at number 5, it is way too high, I feel like. They have terrible losses this season against Washington and Cal. They almost lost against California again in the Pac-12 quarterfinals. And Georgetown, they are pretty hot here for Georgetown. They have won their last 8 out of 10 games. Georgetown's size, they are physical, and I think their size is going to give Colorado problems in this game. Qudus Wahab, the big for Georgetown, can pose problems in this matchup here as Colorado's defense, they better be ready for that type of matchup. They got a great point guard with McKinley Wright the fourth for Colorado, but I do like Georgetown to pull off the 12 versus 5 upset to move on to the second round. Now we'll take a look at the 4 versus 13 game. Florida State, the 4 seed, take on UNC Greensboro, the 13 seed. FSU, if they want to keep on rolling in the tournament, they got to take care of the basketball much, much better. 18 turnovers against North Carolina, 25 turnovers against Georgia Tech. I had this team going deep throughout the season here. Reason why is because they've got size, they've got athleticism, they can get deflections, they have as well also terrific defenders inside the interior. And I do like Florida State in this matchup, even though with the turnover miscues lately here. North Carolina Greensboro is led by just one player. He has carried a team. The Southern Conference Player of the Year, Isaiah Miller. He has carried a team throughout the entire season here. I think Florida State's size is going to be really tough to handle here with UNC Greensboro in this matchup. So I got the Seminoles. Now on to the next matchup. BYU, the 6th seed, will take on either Michigan State, the 11, or UCLA, the 11. I'll take Michigan State in that matchup for the 11 seed over UCLA in the play-in round. Michigan State really proved it a couple weeks ago when they beat all in a row. They won against Illinois. They won against Ohio State. They won against Michigan. Just unbelievable how Michigan State just did that, beating ranked teams inside the top 10 just like that for Michigan State. But thing about them is consistency. Trying to find consistency. That is the thing. BYU, they showed a ton of fight against Gonzaga. Michigan State, though, I do like Sparty and Tom Izzo in March. And this is the reason why, is because they're going to have one game underneath their belt in the play-in rounds. BYU, they haven't played all the way since the WCC tournament final. I love the fight and the push they gave against Gonzaga, though. Raining threes all over the place for BYU. BYU's top 25% in the nation in three-point shooting percentage. Michigan State, though, is first in the Big Ten when it comes to defending the three ball. This is a bad draw, in my opinion, for BYU in this type of matchup against Michigan State, which has played a difficult schedule. I think the schedule is going to show up in this one. That's where I like a Big Ten team over a team in the WCC. That's where I'm going to take Michigan State with an upset with 11/6. Now for the next matchup, the 3 seed, the Big 12 champions, the Texas Longhorns, will take on the 14 seed, Abilene Christian, in this matchup here. Texas, they're one of the most experienced teams in all of this tournament, and they are also explosive as well for the Longhorns. Abilene Christian, they have the 7th best defense nationally. They lost by only 7 points to Texas Tech in the non-conference slate. But I really do like Texas in this game. That is on the glass. Texas has a great front court. Jericho Sims, he had an incredible Big 12 tournament final against Oklahoma State. And I'm going to take Texas in this one, though. Abilene Christian can make it a close game through their defense. Now on to the next matchup, 7 versus 10. Here we go. This is going to be a good one. The UConn Huskies, the 7 seed, will take on the 10 seed, the Maryland Terrapins. Defenders, defenders, defenders. This is what it's all about in this matchup. 2 really good defenses, and not really known for their offenses for both of these teams. But the offense, the ceiling is higher with James Bouknight. With him back after his injury, UConn is 6-2 with Bouknight. UConn lost at Villanova. That was when Villanova's starting 5 were all intact during that loss. And then UConn also lost by 3 points in the Big East semifinals to perimeter-oriented Creighton, as they're going to face another perimeter type of team here with Maryland in this matchup. Eric Ayala, Aaron Wiggins. They attempt approximately about 5 3-point shots per game. This is going to be a good one. It's going to come down to push versus shove in this type of matchup here. UConn has a great perimeter defense. I feel like they can lock down Maryland's 3-ball in this type of matchup here. Terrific defensive game. I'm going to roll with Huskies. Moving on to the second round there for UConn. And now it will bring up the last game of the first round. We got the number 2 seed, the Alabama Crimson Tide, will face Rick Pitino in the Iona Gales as a 15 seed coming out of the MAAC as conference tournament champions. Give it up for Iona. They were on an over 50-day plus pause, and they still play basketball, and they came out, played in their conference tournament, and they won the MAAC tournament title. For Alabama, though, I just feel like Alabama's way too many weapons to take care of for Iona in this type of matchup here. The defense so much improved for the Crimson Tide under year 2, under head coach Nate Oates here. I'm going to roll with Roll Tide. And this one here for Alabama in the first round, as they will take on UConn, sets up a great second round matchup. So first round complete. Now we're going to move back up to the top, as we will go over the second rounds right now. It starts off with a second round matchup here. The 1 versus the 8, Gonzaga, will take on Oklahoma in the second round. Oklahoma's more guard-based, And for this type of matchup, though, Oklahoma, they've been attempting more threes than lately usual. They haven't been able to take it to the basket as much as I'd like them to lately for Oklahoma. I think they're going to have a lot of trouble defending Drew Timme inside the interior as well. And I'm going to roll with Gonzaga out in this matchup for this game over Oklahoma to get the W. Now moving on to the next matchup here, the 12 versus 13 seed. Unpredictable, we have a UC Santa Barbara taking on Ohio. That's how the upsets panned out. That's how I got them. UC Santa Barbara, number 20 ranked defense going up against the number 17 ranked offense, college basketball, with Ohio's firepower. But in the end here, I'm going to take the defense. They're red hot out of the Big West to move on to the Sweet 16. UCSB to the Sweet 16, which they'll take on Gonzaga, which will be an all-West U.S. Sweet 16. And now on to the next matchup, 6 versus 3, we have USC with their front court taking on the 3 seeds. Small ball, Kansas Jayhawks in this type of matchup. USC has a lot of trouble defending backcourt players here. All about the front court is their strength for USC, and that's where I feel like Kansas is going to draw a really difficult matchup here for Southern Cal in this one. Kansas has got the top interior defense as well in the Big 12, and I feel like these guards for Kansas, they are defensive guards, and they're going to be all over the place on the court. So I'm going to roll here with the Jayhawks out in this matchup over USC. Now on to the next matchup here, in the number 7 seed Oregon taking on Iowa, the 2 seed. Tough draw for Oregon in the second round. They have a great record this season. It's just very tough draw going up against Luka Garza and the Hawkeyes. I feel like Iowa's offense here, they're going to be raining threes left and right. They are inside the top 5 nationally in three-point shooting percentage this season. Big reason why Jordan Bohannon, he has got some serious range for Iowa. The Ducks, they struggle defensively, especially when it comes to defending the perimeter, also the interior as well. So I think Luka Garza is going to pose a big matchup problem going up against an undersized Oregon Ducks roster. That's where I like Iowa to roll out in this matchup to face Kansas in the 3 versus 2 in the Sweet 16. Now we'll take a look at the top right corner here, the South region. As we take a look, round of 32, Baylor, the 1 seed, will face North Carolina. This could be a close one. Really could. North Carolina's size, it could pose a problem for Baylor's perimeter attack in this type of matchup here. But it's UNC's size versus Baylor's perimeter attack. That's what it is. But UNC's size could pose a problem inside the interior because Baylor is undersized too inside there. But UNC, they do have trouble defending the 3 ball, especially off dribble drive penetration, kick out to the corner. That's where Marquette really got them and drilled a bunch of threes off a dribble drive penetration, kick out to the corner. And that's where Baylor's sweet spots are, is nailing corner threes. That's where I like the Bears here. The experience lies in the backcourt for Baylor, and that's where I like them in this matchup for the Bears to roll over UNC. It should be a good one, though. Could be a close matchup. Now for the next matchup, 5 seed Villanova taking on the 4 seed Purdue. As for this matchup here, it's going to be a close one as well, though I'm going to give the edge over to Purdue in this matchup here. Purdue's got inside scores that could potentially pose a problem to Villanova. Villanova struggled to defend interior shots this season in this type of matchup. Also, along with Purdue, is the home environment that they're playing in their home state. Feel like that's going to be a factor as well, as that will set up a Sweet 16 matchup between Baylor and Purdue. Now move on to the next matchup here. The 6 seed Texas Tech will take on the 3 seed Arkansas. This should be a great game. It's Arkansas's electric offense taking on a great defense for Texas Tech. The way to beat Texas Tech, though, is that you have to drill 3-point shots. Texas Tech is weakest at defending the 3-point shot. They are great with their interior defense. Arkansas loves to attack the inside. The other way that you have to beat Texas Tech is through their physicality, and this could be something totally new here for this Arkansas team, because Texas Tech plays they are just mentally tough on a whole complete level. But this should be a terrific matchup in this one between the 6 versus 3. But when push comes to shove, I think that Big 12 basketball this year has prepared Texas Tech for the future here to sneak into the Sweet 16. That's where I'm going to go upset here. The 6 seed Texas Tech will roll over Arkansas. There should be a really good matchup. Could very well be a tight game. And now for the last one here, at the South region for the second round, we have the 10 seed Virginia Tech Hokies as they will take on the 2 seed, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Virginia Tech, they don't really attempt that many 2-point shots. To beat Ohio State, though, you have to go inside in the Buckeyes. You need to be aggressive inside taking on the Buckeyes. Ohio State, they can draw fouls inside. They can also shoot the ball really well at the free throw line, as well as what they can do, pop off and drill threes with Dwayne Washington Jr. leading the way. I do like Ohio State with their firepower in this matchup to take this one over the Hokies in the second round. So the top of the bracket here complete. We're going to go on to the next portion here, the bottom part of the bracket for the second round for the round of 32. That's where we're going to move on to the Midwest region. Illinois will take on Loyola Chicago. Got some home state action going on here for this matchup. And Illinois, they're just on a mission. Loyola Chicago hasn't, they got the #1 defense in all college basketball, but the Ramblers have never seen an offense quite like this one this season. Kofi Coburn's so explosive inside. He's going to have to be defended by Krutwig of Loyola Chicago. This should be a great game, but I would assume he is on a mission this season for Illinois. That's where I like the Fighting Illini to prevail in this one over Loyola Chicago. Now on to the next game. Tennessee, the 5 seed, will take on Oklahoma State, the 4 seed in this matchup. John Fulkerson, his status still unknown due to facial injuries, whether he's even playing for the tournament for Tennessee. Tennessee isn't really known for their offense this season. They do take a lot of low percentage shots. They don't attack the bucket that often. They are known for their defense for Tennessee. For Oklahoma State, they're in a full 40 minutes of attack, drive to the basket. For Oklahoma State, they play with a ton of chemistry. They play with joy. They play with passion for Oklahoma State here. I love what the Cowboys have proven to me this season here. Cade Cunningham and his supporting cast, they just keep on getting better and better and better. I like Oklahoma State out in this matchup to prevail over Tennessee. Now on to the next matchup. This is going to be a good one. The 6 seed San Diego State out of the Mountain West. They are an elite defense taking on an elite offense with West Virginia. Multiple guards, scoring options on this team. 1-2 punch. Deuce McBride, Derek Culver for West Virginia. This is going to be a great one. This could come down to a game-winning shot potentially in this type of matchup here. San Diego State has a terrific defense, great interior defense. West Virginia, though, they are explosive from the outside, and that is where San Diego State's defensive weakness lies, is in the perimeter defense, more or so. Their interior defense is terrific for SDSU, but the perimeter defense, it could be vulnerable, and that's where I like West Virginia in this matchup here to find the perimeter. It's going to be an instant classic. I like the Mountaineers in a very tight game in this one in the second round. And now on to the final one out of this region here. We got the 10 seed Rutgers taking on the 2 seed Houston. Houston, elite defensive team once again. #2 defense all college basketball. They are great on the glass. They're going to take on a Rutgers team that struggles from 3. They leave points off the board too as they struggle at the free throw line. And that's where I like Houston in this type of matchup for this one. I'm going to roll with the Cougars in that game to face West Virginia in the Sweet 16. And now one more region left to go here as we'll move on to the East region. Michigan, the 1 seed. They'll take on St. Bonaventure, the 9 seed. I have them sneaking past LSU there in the first game. The Bonnies, another elite defense, as they're going to have to be efficient offensively, though, to beat this Michigan team, as Michigan got a terrific defense, especially inside the interior. Now, for this game here, I'm not sure just yet if Livers will be back or not. Out indefinitely currently with that update. But Michigan's interior defense, though, I think that's where they're going to be able to thrive in this game with the interior for Michigan with Hunter Dickinson. That's where I like the Wolverines to prevail on to the Sweet 16. Now on to the next matchup we got. In the number 4 seed Florida State taking on the 12 seed Georgetown. Second round. To beat Georgetown, you have to be physical. You have to have size. Florida State, check. They are athletic. And they can get deflections. They are going to be a tough team as they have a lot of size for Florida State. And also, Georgetown has a problem with turnovers too. So Florida State, Georgetown both have a lot of turnover problems. Georgetown doesn't force many turnovers like Georgia Tech does with them stealing the basketball like they did against Florida State. I like Florida State in this game. In this one, I'm going to take them in the Sweet 16 to take on Michigan. Now on to the next matchup. We got Sparty, Michigan State, I have, will take on Texas, the 3 seed, second round. This will be a great game. Should be a good one. I do like the experience, though, when it comes along with the Longhorns in this matchup, with what they have in the backcourt there. That's going to be the difference, will be the guards. Multiple knockdown shooters for Texas, Matt Coleman, Courtney Ramey, Andrew Jones. Michigan State, they struggle from 3. That's not their game, and that's where I'm going to take Texas to roll into this one with their experience. Longhorns over Sparty in the second round. Now on to the final matchup we have here to close out the round of 32. The 7 seed, the UConn Huskies, will take on a 2 seed, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama's done terrific this season. Their offense was electric. Remember that, when their offense was drilling threes left and right, beating teams, crushing them. That was in mid-January. But that, I feel like, was the peak of Alabama back in mid-January when they were destroying teams left and right. They play in the SEC. SEC has very few teams that are elite defensively. And for UConn, they got a terrific defensive team, especially when it comes to defending the perimeter. And this here is upset city waiting to happen in this game for this one. Alabama has multiple scores that they can go to. The big question is, in this matchup, will they be driving the ball more, or will they go and jack up 33s per game? Because UConn can stop that, and that's where I think UConn can pull off the upset, because Alabama is top 5 nationally in most three-point shot attempts per game, and UConn can lock down the perimeter. That's the bread and butter of Alabama. I'm going to take upset. 7 seed, UConn, moving on to the Sweet 16 as they'll take on Texas. So that is complete there to round of 32. We move back up to the top once again. And this is what we'll have, the Sweet 16. Gonzaga, the 1 seed out of the Sweet 16, they'll take on the 12 seed, UC Santa Barbara. In this matchup here, UC Santa Barbara's dream run, though, inside the tournament, I feel like it's going to come to the end out in this game. Gonzaga just too good. Take Gonzaga in that matchup. Now on to the 3 versus 2, Kansas versus Iowa. This is going to be a great game out here for this Sweet 16 matchup here. Luka Garza's phenomenal college basketball season. It has been great, but it's going to run into a terrific defense here, especially inside the interior with the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas got a defensive backcourt as well that I feel like that will be able to stop the Big Ten's top perimeter attack with Iowa. Kansas got guards all over the place that can defend. Of course, Marcus Garrett being one of them, as he was the National Defensive Player of the Year last season, all college basketball. I'm going to roll with the Jayhawks in this one. Luka Garza's phenomenal college career, though, comes to the end with a loss against Kansas in the Sweet 16. Now on to the right side here for the Sweet 16 games. That's where we have the 1 seed Baylor. They'll take on Purdue, the 4 seed. Purdue, they get the size advantage in this matchup as well, but their offense, they aren't really known for their offense for Purdue, as they don't really have an electric offense, and that's where I think Baylor's backcourt here in this game with their guard play, it can just light up Purdue in this game, and it's going to be hard for Purdue to come back. So I'm going to take the Bears out in this one to get the W. Now we'll take a look at this one. Texas Tech, the 6 seed, taking on the 2 seed, Ohio State. Could very well potentially be another Big 12 matchup if it does happen there in the Elite 8 between Baylor and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is mentally tough. They are. But the problem for Texas Tech, though, they have trouble shooting the basketball. They also have trouble defending the three-point shot. Guess what? That's the bread and butter of Ohio State. And so with them going to the free throw line, putting teams in foul trouble, great free throw shooting team, and also the guard play of Dwayne Washington Jr. and Justin Arns. Both of them can light it up from 3. Never count out the Buckeyes no matter how far down they are. They showed you back on Sunday in the Big Ten Championship game. They were down 27-10. They came back, almost beat Illinois, forced overtime. I'm going to take the Buckeyes to take Baylor on in the Elite 8. So now we'll move down to the bracket here. At the bottom part of the bracket, we'll take a look at the Sweet 16. We will take a look at Illinois versus Oklahoma State. Instant classic in this matchup here as we have it. Bad draw for Oklahoma State that they run into Io DeSumo, Illinois on a mission. Terrific game, though, it is for sure. DeSumo versus Cunningham. Hopefully it's going to be one for the ages here. And Illinois, with their size inside the interior, their experience as well, that's where I like the Fighting Illini to get the W out in this game. Oklahoma State's a really young team. Give them credit for an incredible season for the Cowboys in this matchup here. Should be a great game. The only way that Oklahoma State's going to win this game is that they really have to put the bigs, Kofi Cockburn, Georgie Bershonishvili, they have to put them into foul trouble and keep on attacking inside, which Oklahoma State does as they keep on driving inside. So this is going to be a great game, but I will take Illinois out in that matchup in a tight one over Oklahoma State. Now in the next one, the 3 seed West Virginia will take on Houston, the 2 seed. Houston, they have the advantage on paper here when it comes to defensive metrics. They can defend at a high level, but West Virginia, they have played their heart out all season long. They played a brutal schedule, and they were in every single game besides one of them that they played. 8 out of the 9 losses this season by West Virginia were by 5 points or less. Houston lost to East Carolina. They have not seen an explosive offense like this so far this season. I know that Houston beat Texas Tech back in November, but West Virginia, they are known for their offense, and they have got a terrific offense on another level. This is going to be the first type of offense that Houston sees in quite a bit of time here. Should be a terrific matchup, though. I'm going to take the Mountaineers to move on and face Illinois in the Elite Eight. And now at the bottom left corner of the bracket, the East region, we have here Sweet 16 matchups. Michigan, the 1 seed, will take on Florida State, the 4 seed. Florida State, their size, they can frustrate Michigan in this game and have potential to pull off the upset. Florida State is deep, and that will be the key, is the depth in this game. Florida State has a top 15 interior defense. They also have 2 7'1" centers on their team as well that they can slide in there and defend. Michigan has a top 5 interior defense. Michigan has had off games this season, and for this one here, I'm predicting that this game could be that one game that Michigan does have that off type of game. Florida State's athleticism going to play a huge role in this one, and I'm going to take the Seminoles to bounce out the first number 1 seed out of the bracket there, as they got Florida State moving on to the Elite Eight. And now for the final game in the Sweet 16. We have the 3 seed Texas taking on the 7 seed UConn. Texas, with their experience, the guard trio, Matt Coleman, Courtney Ramey, Andrew Jones, over a star James Bouknight. UConn, terrific season for them. They were on a pause. They lost Bouknight, able to get themselves into the tournament field, though. And they also have great defense for UConn inside the interior. Tyrese Martin this year, great transfer pickup from URI. He has been a stud for UConn, and they have such a bright future on their head coach, Dan Hurley. But Texas's front court as well, that has the experience too, with Jericho Sims out there, out in the front court. The thing is that Texas has to avoid foul trouble, and fouls could very well play a crucial role in this game for this type of matchup here. I feel like Texas, though, the more explosive type of team, and it's going to be tough here for UConn to get stops against Texas here. So I'm going to take Texas in this matchup to move on, face Florida State in the Elite Eight. Alright, so we are now on to the Elite Eight portion of this bracket, as this is what it will look like. Gonzaga, the 1 seed, will face Kansas, the 3 seed, as part of the Elite Eight. For my predictions, this is a rematch of Thanksgiving all over again, where Gonzaga rung up 102 on Kansas in their season opener. But Kansas this game, they're going to make it much closer. They're going to test Gonzaga in this game, I predict. The trouble for Kansas, though, it comes to their depth. That's where I like Gonzaga here. Gonzaga, what they do really well is draw fouls. They go to the free throw line. Look for Gonzaga to do that. They go to the free throw line a ton. Kansas doesn't really have that much offensive production when it comes to bench production. They have a terrific starting 5, but on the bench, they struggle to get bench points off the bench, and that's where I like the Zags to roll out in that one. And now on for Baylor versus Ohio State, the 1 versus 2 in the Elite Eight in the South Region matchup here. This is all about guards for this type of matchup. Ohio State, they match up really well, in my opinion, against Baylor. The difference, though, That's going to have to be the Baylor guards. They can get out on the perimeter. They can defend at a high level. And Ohio State, they're going to give Baylor, though, a fight. I feel like Baylor, they're going to take advantage of that perimeter as they can let it fly from the outside. And that's where Ohio State has been shaky defending the three this season. Known for their offense for the Buckeyes, as they're not known for an elite defense for Ohio State, but not a bottom pack of the defense either in this game. But I do like Baylor to take advantage of the perimeter there. I've got the Bears moving on to the Final Four. Now down to the bottom part of the bracket, as we will have the 1 seed Illinois face West Virginia, the 3 seed, as part of the Elite 8 Midwest region. Illinois' roster, it has stepped up in a big way when Io DeSumo was out a few weeks ago. The depth here, that's going to help Illinois, I feel like, versus a very deep Mountaineers backcourt. West Virginia's downfall, though, that is their struggling interior defense, and that is where Kofi Cockburn can take advantage and thrive in this matchup for Illinois. West Virginia will stay in this game, though, through the three-point shots, but Illinois, I think they're going to get some more stops in this game, and that's where I like the Fighting Illini to roll once again as they will be moving on to the Final Four. And for the last team to go on to the Final Four, here we have it. Elite 8 matchup, the 4 seed. Florida State will take on the 3 seed, the Texas Longhorns. Florida State, Texas, both match up well here. Size and athleticism. Texas, though, they are explosive. Texas is experienced, and also they got ball handlers on this team where Florida State has had trouble turning over the basketball. Multiple scoring options that Texas has in close games. It could come down to the clutch here, and that's where I like Texas and the Longhorns. Matt Coleman, he is a closer. They have multiple players here who can close out games inside the backcourt with Coleman. Andrew Jones hit a shot before the buzzer in conference play against West Virginia, and also Courtney Ramey as well. I'm going to take the Longhorns in that matchup to the Final Four. So now we move on to the Final Four. And this is what it looks like. Gonzaga versus Texas inside the Final Four. And then also Baylor versus Illinois. We'll go over Gonzaga versus Texas too on the left side of the Final Four. Gonzaga, what they do, thriving at drawing contact, going to the free throw line. The Longhorns, they have struggled during the season when it comes to committing personal fouls. And I think Texas is really gonna test Gonzaga in this game, especially with their physicality. But I'm going to roll here still with the Bulldogs. I've been so impressed day number 1 on Thanksgiving with Gonzaga here. The question has always been Gonzaga or the field. And I'm going to roll here Gonzaga to the national championship over Texas in that matchup in the Final Four. And now the last Final Four matchup to the right. Number 1 seed Baylor taking on another number 1 seed Illinois. The popular pick in this one I feel like is Illinois. They have the size advantage over Baylor, even though Baylor hasn't been as strong coming off of their pause. But Baylor beat Illinois all the way back in December, but as time has went on though, Illinois has really improved. Back then, November, December, it was just DeSumo and Cockburn. Now this team is deep for Illinois, and the depth is going to test Baylor in this game. This is going to be an instant classic, I feel like, with a classic rematch in this matchup. So much closer than it was than the game back in December. Ohio State, though, they came back. They were down by 17 to Illinois because of their guard play. Knocking down threes, big reason why Dwayne Washington Jr. Now you surround multiple shooters for the Baylor Bears. Unless Baylor has an off night in that game there, Illinois would take it, but I'm going to take here with a different pick. I know a lot of people going out for Illinois as the popular pick. They have been on the roll. I'm going to go Baylor in this game here, which will set up Gonzaga-Baylor in a national title game for a game of the ages. A game that was supposed to take place on December 5th, 2020 that got canceled about an hour before the game. The top 2 teams in the bracket I've got here are the things. Gonzaga got lit up by BYU's perimeter in the first half. But then, Gonzaga, second half team, they shut them down. They were down by 14. They came back. They won by double digits. Both of these teams are great second half teams. Gonzaga down low, though, with Drew Timme. That could be the deciding factor. Gonzaga, they have more size in their roster. They have the upper hand, I feel like, as well when it comes to this. That is at the free throw line for Gonzaga. It could come down to free throws. That's where I like the Zags in this matchup for the first title ever in school history for Gonzaga. The first team to go undefeated in 45 years. We will see when tournament time comes. But I'm going to put it out here. Boom. The Gonzaga Bulldogs. I've got there as my national champion for 2021. Now, to those who said that Gonzaga plays nobody, yes, they do play in the WCC, and it is weaker this season than in years past, but still, Gonzaga, what they did in the non-conference league, it is impressive. Victories over Kansas, West Virginia, Iowa, and Virginia. And Gonzaga even tried to schedule other teams in there from power conferences that they tried to do, but they did have some open time slots, but those games weren't ever finalized. So Gonzaga, I am rolling with my national champion. If I had to pick a score, I would go Gonzaga 85, Baylor 84 for my prediction. So that's a wrap here, everyone. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video here. You guys are welcome to join the Behind the Arc Basketball Bracket Challenge group as well. The link is down in the description below this video. Also, like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Check out my play-by-play basketball streams when they happen throughout the March Madness tournament. Those are going to be awesome, as I cannot wait to cover tournament games for you guys here on Behind the Arc Basketball. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, as this is Behind the Arc Basketball.